Purdy, you better watch out. That chicken's gonna whoop you. She's gonna get you. She's gonna get you, Purdy. She's gonna get you. Hi, welcome back to Homestead to Health. My name is Caitlin, and today, after a small amount of complaining on my part, winter finally decided to show up here in Texas. It's had a nice cool frost, and today is beautiful. It's a beautiful day for a conversation, so let's go. Okay, so today I thought it would be a good day to talk about all of my failures up until this point here and around the homestead. And of course, today could be kind of counted as living on the edge. I'm going to go ahead and plant this garlic that has decided to start growing in my house. And I mean, it just got cold enough last night to really create like a little level of frost here in my raised bed garden. And I don't know if this garlic will ever see success, but it's better than just wasting it, and so why not? Why not try? My first mistake, I guess, that I could talk about right now is gardening. So whenever I started gardening, I had to move right in the middle of everything. So I had to pack up my tomatoes that I had started in a kiddie pool with a shower curtain over it, or they were seed started really in my storage room. I had to take those with me all across Texas. I tried putting them in the ground, and that's where my mistake was. So I built these raised beds. These are my first garden spaces, and I built these raised beds completely out of things that I found underneath the barn, which is great. You should totally try to use things that you can get for free. But I tried to do the cheap thing by filling them with basically just topsoil, which is the cheapest soil that you can get at Walmart or Home Depot or whatever. And I mean, it worked. Everything grew, but it never really flourished. And I think the biggest mistake that I did, and something I have to plan on rectifying this coming growing season, is I never fertilized my soil. I never tested my soil to see what it needed. And you can fertilize with many things like compost. You can fertilize with Epsom salt if that's what your soil needs. Soil amendment is whenever you find what your soil is lacking, and then you build layers or you supply it with the supplements that it needs. Because this garlic that I'm growing, whatever garlic is known for, antioxidants and stuff, it also needs copper, it needs salt, it needs magnesium, it needs all of these things that will help my body. And if I'm giving it bland, useless soil, I'm gonna have a bland, useless garlic. Does that make sense? And so moving forward, I'm gonna really pay attention to my soil. I'm gonna love my soil, because if you love your soil, you'll get plants that you love and that love you back. So. So after our rabbits, which were our very first animal here on the homestead, we got chickens, and I love my chickens. I get a lot of joy from them. I get pleasure just being around them and hearing their little coos and clucks and stuff, but I've made some mistakes here, so I'm going to show you them. So we had every great intention here within the chicken run, and you can see this old doghouse that my dad had made out of pallets. We've kind of turned into a little chicken coop, and it's been okay, but the fact is it's just too small. Whenever they talk about chicken math, it's a real thing. In the chicken run itself, it's completely fenced in. It's got this fencing here, and it's fenced in on the top, and it has a predator net system up there, and you can see our little zip ties and everything that we've tried to do what we can to secure it. But whenever we first got chickens, I had 4 chickens, and they were I'll never be able to say that right. And they were awesome. I had 5 of them, and very soon I had 4 of them, and then within a week I had 1 of them. Something this summer, whenever we had moved them in here, because we thought we had Fort Knoxed it up, whenever we moved them in here, some predator could fit through these little holes, and it came and it got them. And so we did what we could. We came back in, we redid some things. We really, over here on the coop, we really fenced it in better so that like there was no possible way anything could take our chickens. And so now we have this really safe chicken run in this really locked down chicken coop, but it's too small now. And so our next goal is to completely enclose the chicken run and make the chicken run itself into the chicken coop, and then whenever we can get Premier 1 fencing for poultry and push their fencing out that way, and hopefully right here we'll have a little doggy door of sorts that we can pull up in the morning, and that's how they would leave. But so my mistakes with the chickens are, whenever I first set up my chicken run, my chicken coop, it was not near as safe as I thought it was. And I probably should have checked for anything that like water could have slipped through in order to make it as safe as possible. But my second mistake was not believing in chicken math. Whenever I thought I had 5 chickens, I ended up having 22 chickens. So another mistake I made is going cheap. So with the chickens, you can see they are now drinking from a busted dog water system. I spent like 20 bucks on that, and before I spent 20 bucks on that, I spent 10 bucks or 15 bucks on this little water system here. And so whenever I thought I was saving $1 or $2, really I was spending more money, because now I've got to replace both of those things because they're pretty much useless. And so whenever we go to build our chicken coop, we're also going to have to invest in a new watering system and probably another feed thing. I've only got one feed hanger, and they kind of crowd around it. Some of the lesser chicks on the pecking order, they're not getting as much food as they deserve, so yikes. So whenever it comes to your chickens, invest, make the investment, get the expensive water. I think what we're going to plan on doing is getting like a Home Depot bucket, punching some holes in it, and then there are these cups that your chicken can drink out of, where it just like it feeds like a couple of drops of water into this little cone cup, and that's what they drink out of. And hopefully it'll conserve water. It'll help me from having to get them water every single day. It'll keep their water clean, which would be a great way to deter diseases and sickness and all that other stuff. So it'll be an all-around great investment for us. So we're over here by my goats, and I don't have too many regrets whenever it comes to my goats. Like I said, I've only really had them since October 2019, and now it's January 2020, and I don't think I've had a lot of time to build up any kind of regrets, but I do have 2 that come to mind. So my regrets that come to mind are, this is our second little fence area that we've had to build, and I wish that I would have had it first. So whenever we first got goats, we had this paddock over here that, and I hope I'm using the word paddock right. Honestly, whenever it comes to homesteading, there's lots of jargon and vocabulary that you have to learn. You have to know that pigs farrow, and not give birth, they farrow, rabbits kindle, goats kid, and I mean, it's not too hard, it's just you pick it up as you go. But anyway, hi. You burping on me? I wish I would have known that goats burp stink so bad. But like I was saying, whenever we first got goats, we only had this first fenced in area over here, and it was great, but we quickly doubled our number of goats because they were all pregnant when they got here. Well, most of them. I don't think Unicorn's pregnant, but she could surprise us because she's looking a little tubby. So our herd literally doubled in numbers. And this area right here is a little larger, but honestly, we plan on using it for pigs in the spring. And the boy goats are going to go over there in the first pen. The reason I wish that we would have had more than one pen set up, though, is that first pen, it rained for several days recently, and whenever it did, it became suited for pigs. It's really gross, it's really muddy. Honestly, I don't go in there and like scoop up poop like it's a petting zoo, like it just happens. And like I was saying with the chickens earlier, a clean area, clean water, clean eating area in general really cuts down on disease and things. And I haven't had an issue with that, but I don't want an issue with that. So I wish that I would have had a second fenced-in area set up so that I could give one of the fenced-in areas a break and do something called rotation. My second very big regret is that when Daphne, our light-colored doe, whenever she dropped kids here on the homestead, she dropped 3. And one of the triplets did not make it. Her name was Basil, and she was adorable. And if you follow me on Instagram, or if you are in my personal life and you've seen photos of me like cuddling a baby goat, that was Basil. Basil very quickly and unexpectedly passed away. Because we didn't take her to the vet to do like any kind of autopsy or whatnot, like we don't really know why she passed. I checked the pen for signs of like loose diarrhea or anything like that, any glaring signs of sickness or disease, and I didn't find any. That doesn't mean they weren't there, but I didn't find any. So that day, the day that she got really sick and she passed away, I became very frightened. I didn't know what was wrong with my goats. I had taken to all the books, I took to internet, I took to the person that I got them from. I went searching everywhere I could to find an answer on what was wrong with my little babies. And the only thing that I could really surmise was that there's something that goats get. It's called pulpy kidney disease, or there's a really long name for it that I can't pronounce. I'm not going to. I might put it in text here. But they have a vaccine for it called CDT. And honestly, this is where my regret breeds from. I'm pretty confident that's why she passed away. And I feel like I could have prevented it had I known vaccination schedules better. I had the vaccine, it was in my refrigerator, and I didn't know the schedule well enough to know that she was of age to have been vaccinated, which could have prevented her death. So I do wish that. Earlier in a different vlog, I stated, you know, take the plunge, know what you can, but take the plunge. You got to really commit to learn about your animals. And honestly, I probably wouldn't have learned that lesson. I wouldn't have thought to, because like I said, I had the vaccine, I had it in my fridge, I knew how to give it soon, I just didn't know how soon. But I wanted to emphasize that in the same video I said, research common diseases, research common things that could go wrong with your goats, and one of those common things that you should research are vaccination schedules. None of my other animals get vaccinates. None of my other animals get vaccines except for the dogs get vaccines, but the goats are the only thing that I really have to worry about medicating, and I should have taken a more serious approach towards those vaccines. I didn't realize that they could the diseases they prevent could come on swiftly, and they can be pretty devastating. So my last bit of regret, or my mistakes that I have made as a first-time homesteader, is butchering and dispatching animals, which I'm not going to get too gory on, but you're going to get a clear idea as to why. So the first animal here that we dispatched was a duck. So that was me. I was the one who had to dispatch the duck. And I have this book by John Seymour about homesteading and being self-sufficient. And I thought from my readings of that book that I was prepared to dispatch this duck. I thought that you take its neck and you take its feet and you twist and you pop just like a chicken. Ducks are not chickens. In fact, ducks have very strong necks. So even if you think that you've killed them, they're probably just being calm. And so whenever you go to further butcher them, you will be in a very traumatic situation with a very much alive chicken, and so, or duck, I'm sorry. So that was my experience butchering a duck. It was horrible. I cried afterwards. I didn't want any part in the meal anyway, even if it didn't stink to high heaven. It was bad. And luckily we had 3 ducks. And after that first butchering didn't go well, or that first dispatching didn't go well, my friend's dad wanted ducks, and I told him, like, come get them. So we are no longer with ducks. But the reason I'm standing right here is because this is our dispatching station now. So whenever I was dispatching that duck, I had done a rope and that went over the side of the rabbit hutch, and I had loop knots or whatever they're called, slip knots, and that's how I was able to hold its feet and do what I needed to do, eventually do what I needed to do. But now that we've upgraded to this is a slip knot from a cable cord. You can find this in like the hunting section at Walmart, and we've dispatched 2 rabbits using this week, and it was very easy. It was very clean. The way we dispatch rabbits now is with the 22. We put some fresh lettuce down. They go and they're enjoying themselves, and then very quickly and smoothly they're dispatched, and it's as humane and quick as we could do it. But before we came to that, I laugh out of nervousness. I don't laugh because I think it's funny. So before we came to that, this right here was supposed to be a kill board. So if you watch Living Traditions Homestead, they have a kill board where they take the rabbit and they put it up there, and there's a little triangle cut out where its neck fits, and you pull down, and it's supposed to dislocate the spinal cord, or not dislocate it, disconnect the spinal cord, so that it's a very clean, smooth passing for that animal. That did not work for us. That was something that we wanted to do, something that we very much wanted to do, mostly me, but that didn't work. In fact, again, another really traumatizing thing. But we've worked out our kinks, and so now we're able to dispatch rabbits fairly simply and pretty quickly. So my mistake being, I did not know what I was doing, and I thought I did. I learned as much as I could, but if I had to do it over again as a first timer, I would have asked somebody who has done it before to show me in person what to do, so that I felt a little bit more led. This is my shade box. It's a garden bed over by my kitchen window. This is where I'll be planting a lot of greens, like salad mixes and stuff. I had some scarlet kale over here, and I wouldn't really call this a regret, but just kind of like a last minute note. My chickens are free ranging right now, and I thought that I was going to be able to eat some more out of this garden. I very much underestimated how quickly they would find every single plant that I have and how quickly they could extinguish it. So moving forward in the spring, we're going to have to, like I said earlier, get the Premier 1 fencing and keep them pretty boxed in. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish planting this garlic. Just anywhere that I can put it. It should be probably one of the very first things ready for me in the spring. Maybe not this garlic, maybe some of the garlic I'd planted before, but it's going to be great. Thanks for hanging out with me today. If you haven't already, subscribe and follow me along on my Instagram page at Homestead to Health _ for spaces. See y'all later.